The town of Cedar Ridge was a quiet place, nestled deep within the arms of towering mountains, where pine-scented winds whispered through the valleys and crystal streams cut through rocky earth. The townsfolk had long relied on the land for survival. Hunting, logging, and small-scale farming defined their lives. Everyone knew everyone else's business, and the arrival of a stranger was the equivalent of a festival. When the mountain man appeared, his entrance stirred curiosity and excitement among the townspeople. He was not like anyone they had seen before. His hair was long and unkempt, sun-bleached at the tips from countless days in the open air. His beard, thick and dark, framed a face that bore the marks of wilderness living: tanned skin, piercing eyes, and a jaw hardened by years of solitude. His clothes were simple, patched leather and rough wool, and his boots were worn from walking untrodden paths. While some townsfolk whispered tales of his prowess, that he could track deer through snow, survive storms alone, and even tame wild animals, the women of Cedar Ridge were drawn to him for more than his survival skills. There was a raw magnetism, a kind of rugged romanticism that spoke to the untamed freedom they secretly desired. From the very first day, the women of Cedar Ridge tried to catch his attention. They would dress in their finest dresses, hang fresh flowers in their hair, and offer to bake him pies or help him with tasks. Yet he remained distant, observing the town with quiet patience, speaking little and moving even less. The men, too, admired him, but with a mixture of envy and respect. Sensing that the mountain man lived by rules no one else could fully understand. Amid this excitement, there lived Eliza, the girl everyone overlooked. She was large-bodied, her weight often the subject of teasing or casual disregard, yet her spirit was gentle and enduring. Unlike the other women who vied for the mountain man's attention with overt displays of beauty, Eliza went about her days quietly, tending her small garden, caring for stray animals, and helping her elderly parents with chores. She possessed a quiet intelligence, a way of observing the world and understanding its rhythms that others missed. She noticed small things, how the mountain streams changed color after a rainstorm, how birds migrated with precision, and how even the seemingly harsh mountains held life and beauty. Eliza's relationship with the natural world was profound. She spent hours wandering the forests, speaking to animals in whispers, listening to the rustle of leaves as if the trees themselves could communicate. This connection gave her a confidence that was invisible to the townspeople, who judged her by appearances alone. While others focused on the mountain man's physical appeal, Eliza sensed a deeper truth about him. He was not drawn to shallow displays of beauty, but to authenticity, strength, and the quiet courage to live fully in harmony with one's environment. As the women of the town pursued him, Eliza found herself intrigued by the mountain man not out of desire to be chosen, but out of curiosity and genuine admiration. She noticed the little details, how he carefully packed his belongings each morning, how he smiled at the sight of wildlife, and how he seemed to respect the land in ways the townsfolk did not. Her own empathy and understanding created a subtle bond between them, though unspoken. While others tried to force attention with flamboyant gestures, Eliza's presence was understated, yet powerful. Conflict began to simmer within the town. Women whispered behind each other's backs, rivalries ignited, and gossip spread like wildfire. The mountain man, however, remained unaffected, seemingly detached from all the noise. He observed the townspeople, discerning their intentions, yet he did not judge. The mountain man's aloofness only fueled the frenzy. Some women became desperate, trying everything to win his favor: lavish gifts, exaggerated stories of courage, even attempts to mimic his rugged lifestyle. Eliza, in contrast, remained grounded. She did not attempt to compete with others. She simply lived her life with honesty and integrity. Her weight, her appearance, her quiet nature, none of it mattered to her sense of self-worth. This inner stability created a unique contrast with the chaotic energy of the women clamoring for the mountain man's attention. The first outline closes with a pivotal moment, a chance encounter between Eliza and the mountain man in the forest. While townspeople were busy crafting elaborate attempts to impress him, Eliza was collecting herbs near a stream. She stumbled upon him, not out of planning or intention, but simply by being herself. In this moment, there was no pretense, no competition, just two beings in a quiet, unspoken understanding. The mountain man's piercing eyes softened as he acknowledged her presence. For the first time, he smiled, not at a gesture of pursuit, but at the authenticity and unassuming nature of someone who truly saw the world as he did. This sets the stage for the story's central arc. While the town focuses on appearances, superficial charm, and social competition, the mountain man's choice will rest on qualities that cannot be bought or flaunted. Eliza's kindness, intelligence, and unique connection to the world give her an invisible strength, making her the unlikely yet perfect match for the man who values depth over display. Cedar Ridge was buzzing like never before. From the moment the mountain man appeared in town, life had taken on a new rhythm, one dictated by fascination, gossip, and rivalry. Women whispered in doorways, plotted in kitchens, and competed openly in marketplaces to gain the attention of the enigmatic outsider. Dresses became more elaborate, hair more perfectly styled, and gifts more extravagant. Some women even attempted to emulate his rugged lifestyle, wearing leather boots and venturing into the forest with him, only to stumble awkwardly and return home in frustration. The mountain man, however, seemed impervious to all these displays. His movements remained deliberate and careful. His words were few and considered. He did not reward the flashy efforts of the townswomen, nor did he respond to their charms or criticisms. Yet, he observed everything with a quiet intelligence. He noted the insincerity of the gestures, the shallow motivations, and the desperation behind their actions. In contrast, he noticed Eliza, not because she tried to impress him, but because she moved through life with a calm grace that others lacked. Eliza's days were filled with simple yet meaningful tasks. She tended to her small garden, feeding the flowers, herbs, and vegetables as if each one were a dear friend. She helped the elderly with their chores, repaired fences, and cared for abandoned animals that no one else had the patience to look after. While the other women were plotting, Eliza was simply herself, working quietly and offering kindness without expectation. It was this authenticity that first caught the mountain man's attention. Though he remained cautious and observant, the tension in town began to escalate. Rivalries grew more pronounced. The wealthier women tried to bribe the mountain man with gifts of jewelry, fine food, and invitations to their homes. Some resorted to public displays, organizing dances, calling him to events, and speaking loudly of his bravery in front of the town square. They gossiped about Eliza behind her back, mocking her size and claiming she had no chance to win his favor. Despite the cruelty, Eliza never reacted with anger or jealousy. She maintained her dignity, understanding that true self-worth was not tied to others' approval. The mountain man observed these rivalries with quiet amusement and subtle evaluation. He was not swayed by beauty, wealth, or social standing. He valued depth, integrity, and empathy. He noticed how Eliza interacted with people and animals alike, how she listened to the world around her, and how her laughter, soft and genuine, could light up even the gloomiest days. He saw a woman who had the courage to embrace herself fully, who did not seek to manipulate or compete, and who understood the rhythms of life in a way that few could. One afternoon, while tracking a deer through the forest, the mountain man came across Eliza gathering wild herbs near the stream. She did not flinch at his sudden presence, nor did she pretend to be someone else. Her calm demeanor intrigued him. They began to converse, first about practical matters, which herbs were best for teas and remedies, which plants could heal minor injuries, and how to navigate the forest safely. But soon, their conversation shifted to shared philosophies about life, respect for nature, and the importance of honesty. Meanwhile, back in town, the other women noticed the mountain man's subtle attention toward Eliza and grew jealous. Rumors spread that he had started noticing her, and the gossip took on a vicious tone. They began to sabotage her efforts, spreading lies, questioning her worth, and attempting to humiliate her publicly. Some tried to lure him away from her by creating spectacles or claiming to possess qualities Eliza lacked. Yet none of these tactics worked. The mountain man's respect for authenticity and inner strength remained unshaken. Eliza, aware of the growing hostility, faced an internal struggle. She had always been sensitive to the judgment of others, yet she refused to let it define her. Her encounters with the mountain man became a refuge, a place where she could speak freely, express her curiosity, and feel seen without pretense. Through these interactions, a subtle bond developed, mutual respect, shared values, and a recognition of each other's unique strengths. A pivotal moment in this outline occurs when the mountain man observes Eliza performing an act of pure kindness. She rescues a small injured fawn from the forest floor, carefully tending to its wounds and carrying it back to a safe place. He watches from a distance, unobserved, and realizes that her compassion and courage are qualities he has long sought. Unlike the other women, who were motivated by desire for attention, Eliza's action stemmed from genuine care and moral integrity. This observation deepens his interest in her, setting the stage for a more profound connection. The townspeople's behavior becomes increasingly desperate. Public confrontations, challenges, and gossip wars escalate, contrasting sharply with Eliza's quiet, steady life. This juxtaposition emphasizes the central theme: superficiality versus authenticity. The mountain man's growing recognition of Eliza underscores that true attraction is rooted in character and values, not outward appearances or social status. By the end of this outline, the tension reaches a critical point. The mountain man has begun to see Eliza in a new light, while the town becomes more chaotic and competitive. Eliza, meanwhile, gains confidence in her worth and her unique connection with the mountain man. The stage is set for the next phase of the story, where her qualities are tested and the mountain man must make his choice despite external pressures. The days in Cedar Ridge grew longer and more tension-filled as the mountain man and Eliza's subtle bond evolved into meaningful interaction. Unlike the shallow gestures and loud proclamations of other women, their connection was quiet, rooted in shared understanding and mutual respect. The mountain man, who had spent years in isolation, was surprised by the ease with which he could communicate with Eliza. She possessed a curiosity and clarity of thought that challenged him, yet did so with kindness rather than arrogance. Their interactions often took place in the wilderness surrounding the town. Eliza would accompany him on short journeys into the forest to gather herbs, track wildlife, or inspect the mountain streams. During these excursions, they shared stories of the natural world. She spoke of the subtle patterns of the seasons, the songs of birds, and the medicinal properties of plants, while he revealed the secrets of survival he had learned over years alone. Their conversations flowed effortlessly, a mixture of practical knowledge and philosophical reflection. The mountain man began to recognize the depth of Eliza's character. While others sought attention and approval, she offered insight and empathy. She noticed small details, the way he carried his pack, the subtle wear on his boots, the slight tension in his shoulders, and responded with thoughtfulness rather than judgment. Her observations were never intrusive, but always perceptive, which drew him closer emotionally. He realized that her intelligence and compassion were qualities he had long valued but seldom found in others. Meanwhile, back in town, the competitive women were growing restless. They could sense the mountain man's growing interest in Eliza, though they had no idea why. Their gossip became crueler, spreading lies and attempting to undermine her credibility. Some tried to frame her as manipulative, claiming she was trying to ensnare the mountain man through deception. Others tried to physically intercept her during trips to the forest, creating public confrontations meant to embarrass her. Despite these provocations, Eliza responded with poise and dignity. She refused to stoop to gossip or malice, focusing instead on her connection with the mountain man and her own personal growth. A turning point in this outline comes during a particularly challenging day in the mountains. The mountain man and Eliza set out to track a herd of deer, but a sudden storm forced them to seek shelter in a remote cave. For hours they were trapped together, listening to the wind howl outside and the rain batter the rocks. In this confined space, they shared more intimate stories of their lives. Eliza spoke candidly about her insecurities, the way she had been judged and overlooked her entire life, and the longing she had for genuine connection. The mountain man, in turn, revealed aspects of his solitary life, the loneliness, the hardships, and the rare moments of wonder and beauty he had experienced. This moment of vulnerability deepened their emotional connection. The mountain man began to understand that Eliza's size and appearance, which others criticized, were irrelevant to her character and value. Her strength lay in her resilience, empathy, and authenticity, qualities that resonated deeply with him. Eliza, in turn, found courage in his acceptance and recognition, which helped her embrace her self-worth more fully. They realized that their bond was based not on attraction alone, but on mutual understanding, shared values, and respect. The town's jealousy reached a boiling point. Women began openly challenging Eliza, attempting to publicly embarrass her or convince the mountain man to ignore her. Some staged elaborate social events in hopes of luring him away, while others spread rumors suggesting she was unworthy of his attention. But each attempt failed, highlighting the central theme of the story. True connection cannot be forced or faked. The mountain man, ever observant, was unmoved by superficial displays. He valued authenticity above all. Eliza also began to embrace her personal growth. While she had always been kind and intelligent, she now carried herself with confidence, no longer allowing the town's opinions to define her. She realized that the mountain man's attention was not a prize to be won, but a reflection of mutual respect and shared values. Her resilience and self-assuredness became even more apparent to the mountain man, reinforcing his growing admiration for her. By the end of this outline, the stage is set for a critical choice. The mountain man must decide who he will align with, not based on beauty, wealth, or social standing, but on the qualities that truly matter: integrity, empathy, courage, and compatibility. Eliza's authenticity and resilience have distinguished her from the rest of the town, making her the woman who aligns with his values and worldview. The tension between societal expectations and personal choice reaches its peak, preparing for the moment when the mountain man publicly recognizes Eliza as the one he has chosen. The days in Cedar Ridge had grown chaotic. Gossip spread faster than the wind through the pines, and the town's women became desperate to win the mountain man's favor. Public challenges, social traps, and whispered rumors reached a fever pitch. The townspeople, fascinated by this escalating drama, watched with anticipation as the mountain man moved quietly through the center of the storm. For all the noise and clamor, he remained a pillar of calm, his eyes ever observant, his mind quietly assessing the character of those around him. Meanwhile, Eliza continued her life much as before, though now with a sense of inner strength, that had grown from months of interaction with the mountain man. She tended her garden, cared for animals, and walked through the forest with an ease that spoke of self-assurance. She did not actively seek attention, nor did she allow the malicious words of others to shake her. Each act of kindness, each thoughtful gesture, was now infused with the quiet confidence of someone who knew her own worth. The climax begins one afternoon in the town square. The women, frustrated that their efforts to impress the mountain man had failed, organized a public demonstration of wealth, beauty, and influence. They decorated the square with ribbons, flowers, and banners, hoping to lure him into admiration. Their plan was simple: force him to choose the most desirable woman according to the town standards. The entire town gathered, buzzing with anticipation as the mountain man approached. The chatter was deafening. The women's smiles were sharp with calculated charm, yet he did not move toward them. He observed calmly, his gaze sweeping the crowd, noting each attempt at manipulation and insincerity. The women's desperation was palpable. Their polished appearances, their rehearsed words, even their false laughter could not hide their hunger for approval. In contrast, the mountain man's eyes eventually settled on Eliza, who had arrived quietly at the edge of the crowd. She stood with natural poise, unadorned, her clothing simple, her expression serene. She did not call attention to herself. She was simply present, embodying the integrity and authenticity he valued in that moment. The mountain man stepped forward. His movements were deliberate and calm, commanding attention without arrogance. He walked toward Eliza, bypassing the women who had been vying for his favor. A hush fell over the crowd as townspeople realized the significance of his action. He addressed the assembly with a voice both firm and warm, declaring that the qualities he valued, courage, kindness, intelligence, and authenticity, were not found in appearances or wealth, but in the heart and character of a person. Eliza, initially surprised, felt a wave of emotions: relief, joy, and a deep sense of validation. The mountain man spoke directly to her, acknowledging her unwavering authenticity, her compassion for others, and her quiet strength. In front of the entire town, he made it clear that she was the woman he had chosen. The declaration was not a fleeting attraction or a superficial preference. It was an affirmation of values and connection that transcended societal expectations. The town erupted with a mix of astonishment, jealousy, and awe. The women who had tried to manipulate or shame her were silenced, their schemes exposed as hollow and meaningless. The contrast between Eliza's quiet dignity and the others' desperate displays became starkly apparent. Many townspeople, witnessing this moment, began to reassess their own values and priorities. The mountain man's choice challenged their preconceived notions of beauty, success, and desirability, setting a new standard for what truly mattered in relationships and community life. Eliza's response was graceful. She accepted the mountain man's choice not as a prize won, but as recognition of a mutual connection. She had never sought to compete or manipulate. Her integrity and compassion had naturally drawn his attention. Their bond, forged through shared experiences, trust, and understanding, became visible to all as a testament to authentic love. The climax also serves as a turning point for Eliza personally. She realized that her worth had never been dependent on the opinions of others, nor on societal standards of beauty. The mountain man's acknowledgement was a mirror reflecting the value she had always carried within herself. In this moment, she experienced both external validation and internal empowerment, solidifying her confidence and self-respect. The mountain man and Eliza's public recognition also shifts the town's dynamics. Some women are humbled, realizing the futility of superficial competition. Others reflect on their own motivations and relationships, inspired to value authenticity and character over appearances. Even those who remain skeptical cannot ignore the power of the moment, a mountain man drawn to depth rather than surface, choosing a woman for her heart and mind rather than her looks. By the end of this outline, the story reaches emotional and thematic resolution. The mountain man's choice is a statement against societal expectations and shallow judgments. Eliza's journey from overlooked and insecure to recognized and admired underscores the central message: true love and respect are earned through character, integrity, and authenticity, not superficial charm or conformity to societal ideals. The days following the mountain man's public declaration of affection for Eliza were marked by a sense of quiet wonder in Cedar Ridge. The town, which had been consumed by rivalry and superficial competition, gradually began to absorb a new lesson: authenticity and integrity could not be overlooked. Eliza, once dismissed and judged for her appearance, now stood at the center of the town's attention, not for the sake of vanity or social performance, but because her character had earned genuine admiration. Life for Eliza and the mountain man settled into a harmonious rhythm. Unlike the grand gestures or public displays that had dominated the town square, their connection thrived in the simplicity of shared experience. They spent mornings tending to the forest and streams, gathering herbs, repairing cabins, and tracking wildlife together. Afternoons were filled with conversation, storytelling, and quiet companionship. They celebrated the small victories of daily life: a bountiful harvest, a rescued animal, a successful hunt, finding joy in mutual respect and shared purpose rather than extravagance or recognition. Eliza's personal transformation became evident to all. The confidence and self-assuredness she had developed over months of interaction with the mountain man now radiated outward. She walked through the town without hesitation or self-consciousness, her posture upright, her gaze steady. Where she had once doubted her worth and felt the sting of judgment, she now moved with grace, guided by the knowledge that her value was inherent and independent of the opinions of others. Her kindness and intelligence, once overlooked, were now celebrated as defining features of her identity. The mountain man, too, experienced a profound sense of fulfillment. His years of solitude had taught him to appreciate the subtle beauty of life and the value of character. But finding a companion like Eliza added depth to his existence. He admired her resilience, her empathy, and her unwavering honesty. Together, they formed a partnership rooted in mutual respect and shared values, navigating the challenges of mountain life and town affairs as equals. Their love was not flamboyant or performative. It was steady, reliable, and grounded in the profound understanding of each other's strengths and vulnerabilities. The town, witnessing the authenticity of their bond, began to reflect on its own values. Many townspeople, inspired by the example set by the mountain man and Eliza, started to reevaluate their priorities. Some women, previously obsessed with appearance and social maneuvering, began to cultivate genuine kindness and practical skills. Men and women alike recognized the power of empathy, resilience, and intelligence as qualities worthy of admiration. Gossip gave way to genuine support and cooperation, and a sense of community flourished that had been absent during the frenzy of rivalry. A symbolic moment of resolution occurs during a town festival. Held months after the mountain man's declaration, the event celebrates not just harvest or seasonal change, but the lessons learned through love, courage, and authenticity. Eliza and the mountain man participate together, guiding children through nature walks, sharing stories of the wilderness, and teaching practical skills like foraging and herbal medicine. Their presence inspires admiration and respect, reinforcing the idea that true value lies in integrity and character rather than superficial traits. Eliza's transformation is also internal and spiritual. She no longer defines herself by societal standards or external approval. Her confidence is rooted in self-knowledge, and her compassion extends freely without expectation of reward. She becomes a role model for others, demonstrating that embracing one's authentic self can lead not only to personal fulfillment but also to meaningful relationships and positive impact on the community. The mountain man, once solitary and distant, experiences a renewal of his own spirit. His connection with Eliza allows him to enjoy the joys of companionship without sacrificing his independence or principles. Together, they navigate the challenges of the mountains, storms, harsh winters, and the demands of survival with a partnership built on mutual trust and respect. Their bond becomes legendary in the town, not for its romance alone, but for the moral lessons it embodies, that love, loyalty, and understanding are far more important than appearances or social status. Over time, the town of Cedar Ridge undergoes a subtle but lasting transformation. The lessons learned from the mountain man and Eliza influence future generations. Children are taught to value empathy and intelligence. Women and men are encouraged to pursue their authentic selves, and superficial judgments lose their power over social dynamics. The story's legacy extends beyond the personal love story into the cultural ethos of the town, shaping a community that values authenticity and depth. In the final scenes, Eliza and the mountain man are depicted living contentedly in a mountain cabin overlooking the forested valley. They are shown engaging in daily routines, tending a small garden, caring for animals, exploring the wilderness, illustrating a life of fulfillment and harmony. Their love is steady, enduring, and deeply rooted in mutual respect. Visitors to the town see them not as a spectacle or prize, but as exemplars of authentic connection and integrity. The narrative closes with the central theme reaffirmed: appearances and societal approval are fleeting, but character, integrity, and genuine connection endure. Eliza's journey from overlooked, insecure young woman to confident, respected partner demonstrates the transformative power of self-acceptance and authentic living. The mountain man's choice, guided by insight rather than superficial attraction, reinforces the lesson that true love is earned through understanding, empathy, and shared values.